Today, I am excited to welcome Laura Chevalier. She is the proud parent of three cats named Marley, Ziggy, and Soy. But today, she wanted to share Soy's adoption story. Laura, tell us about Soy.
Oh, I'm so excited to tell you about Soy. Prior to Soy, we had a cat named Rusty, who was very much in appearance like Soy, but he, unfortunately, after a long life, we lost him. He was a flame point Siamese cat, which is just similar to Soy. He has blue eyes and kind of a little bit of a gold, buffy look to him. And one day when my daughter was visiting, we were searching on Pet Finder just for fun with no intention of, actually adopting a cat. And I saw Soy, a little tiny flame point Siamese kitten in Danbury, Connecticut. And he was at a rescue called Secondhand Siamese.
Mhm.
And I pondered, it's like, oh, this kitten, he was just so cute. And they had said that he came from a hoarding situation in Louisiana, and they had got him up, and a lot of course, other kittens up from Louisiana into Connecticut, and they were caring for them, sterilizing them, vaccinating them, and he would be ready for adoption. Well, the thing with Flame Point Siamese is they're not really a legit breed of Siamese. They're kind of like what I would say is a happy accident when a Siamese cat's DNA and genes get in there, and a tabby cat who happens to be a yellow cat or a gold cat mixes in there, and you get these blue-eyed Siamese style cats, but they're called flame points because they're like, or fire points. They have the red tips on their ears, their tail, and their nose.
Mhm.
So after consulting with my husband, he said, fine, Laura, if you want to, apply for him, do it. So I did. And it took a few days. I wrote this long letter of like desperation. I needed this kitten. And the gentleman down there messaged me back and he said yes. So it was a long trek to southwestern Connecticut to get Soy. And my sister came with me on the journey. He cried all the way home, and he didn't disappoint as far as the personality of a Siamese cat goes. And it was just great. He fit right in with Marley and Ziggy, who were already here. They
Mhm.
accepted him into the fold, and they would snuggle together and play together, and his personality really started to shine. And that was in the month of July in 2023. And then in August 2023, he had a couple of slip ups. He got ringworm, and that is absolutely no fun to deal with. And of course, he shared it with Molly and Ziggy. But then at the end of August, he became quite ill. He stopped eating. He had a fever. He was lethargic. And those three hallmarks of illness in cats, it's not a good sign. And my vet at Cape Way Veterinary Hospital, she said, I don't know. We did every kind of test on him. We did blood work. It was quite expensive, but I wasn't going to give up on this kitten. He was at that time, he was, not even 4 months old. He was a baby. So at one of the visits, when we saw the vet, she said, there's an outside chance that he has FIP, which is feline infectious peritonitis. And it's a fatal disease for cats unless it is treated with a medication that at that time in the summer of 2023 was illegal in the United States. Even though it's kind of like it's an antiviral drug
Mhm.
in the family of remdesivir, which people were getting at some point during COVID.
Mhm.
Not You couldn't do it off label for cats.
Mhm.
But she kind of whispered like to me about how I could perhaps get this medication if I wanted to make a big financial investment in this kitten, which
Mhm.
at that point in time, and it was like, whatever, I'm not going to just give up on him.
Right. Is this a blood? What kind of a disease is this? Is it a virus? Is it a bloodborne illness? What kind of a disease is this?
It is a virus that attacks their immune system, and it
Mhm.
generally happens in kittens that have a weakened immune system. And the vet thought that perhaps because he was from a hoarding situation, he didn't have great genes, to begin with,
Oh.
a lot of maybe inbreeding. And the fact that he popped up with the ringworm, which, a healthy cat might be exposed to ringworm, but not ever really get it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As one of my other cats never even contracted it, and one got just maybe one spot, and it's the death sentence that FIP I had been told was. So I was able to go online with Soy on my lap, and I was connected with an organization called FIP Warriors 5.0, which was an underground organization that would hook a person up with somebody in their local area who was holding onto these meds, which were sourced from out of the country. And I was connected with a woman in Rhode Island. And within 24 hours of reaching out to the Warriors, which I got this web information from my vet, I had that medication in my hand. I had syringes. And it's an injection, a subcutaneous injection. I had everything that I needed to get my cat started on this medication. And within, I would say, 2 days, I saw a huge turnaround.
Wow.
He was eating, he was playing, his fever was gone. And it was like it was a miracle. And at that time, like I said, that drug was not legally prescribed in the US. Since then, it has been, and you can get the medication through your vet, not in the injection form. You can get it in an oral medication.
Okay. Now, did you do this when you were giving your cats this treatment? Did you do it like did you bring the medication to your veterinary to your vet and the vet administered it, or you just gave it at home?
No, they were not allowed to, and they're probably still not allowed to give injections. So the woman that provided me with probably like $500 worth of medication and supplies, she would not take a penny for it. She said, I'm paying it forward because somebody helped me. She gave me the lesson on how to do the injection on my cat. It didn't go well initially. I also volunteer at It's All About the Animals down in Rochester. So the director there, Pam Robinson, she had me bring Soy there, and she held Soy in the back seat of my car, and she showed me how to give an injection, and we went from there. So it was kind of like a village of people that
Wow.
together, between my vet and Pam down in Rochester and Sue out in Rhode Island, that saved my cat. And he is an amazing cat. He's crazy, but after 84 days of treatment, not all of those were shots. We were able to switch to the oral form that even then was not legally available in the US. He was able to continue with the oral medication for 84 days. But getting the medication was a trip. At that time, you had to get connected with somebody who was in China, and you give them your PayPal and they send you the medication.
Wow.
And it's all like, I don't know if it's dark web or what, but it was like, I did not know his name. I had to just submit it as, I'm sending this money to you as friends and family. And I got it in like within a couple days. It was so interesting. And that I eventually, once Soy was healed, I went and joined the FIP Warriors as a connector person,
Mm-hmm.
helped out local folks, and also as a holder of meds for local folks. And that was so rewarding. And when I would have folks come to me for meds, Soy would be the first one out there, and I'd be demonstrating with the syringes and the meds and handing them their kits, all free of charge. Soy would sit there like a champ, and I'd use him as my model, like how to give them the injection. And yeah, it was just, since then, as this medication is legalized, I don't volunteer actively anymore. I'm kind of like a background person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All of this came from this naughty little boy from secondhand Siamese that I just couldn't resist. It was strange. And he's healthy
Wow.
today. He just had his annual visit at the vet. He got his first vaccination since he's been healed, and his vet gave him a clean bill of health. It's just amazing.
That is what a story. What
Yeah.
a wild journey you have been on. And I'm so glad to hear that this medication that dare I say, had to bootleg
Yeah.
the black market to heal your cat is now available to anybody else that has to go through this. Are there any statistics around this disease? Like, is it, 1 in every 1,000 cats? Like uh, how frequently does this happen to cats?
Well, I can't really say that I know any specific data on it, but my vet said that it was very rare that she would see this. And mostly it would be in cats with a compromised immune system. And given that he was from the South, he was brought up in some kind of vehicle with a bazillion other cats.
Mhm.
We don't know. He was young at the time. We don't know what his background is. I think those cats might have a higher tendency rather than, your cat that you're going to pick up at It's All About the Animals or at Care in a cushion. I don't think that it is that common, but it is
Mhm.
100% fatal if it is not treated. And there are
Yeah.
different forms of FIP. Soy had a combination wet and dry form. There's also a neurological form, but all of it is through their weakened immune system that they can't fight this virus off. It was
Wow.
it was an expensive proposition at the time. My husband and I gave up our retirement trip to Europe to save this cat. It was that much money, but
Yeah.
now it's still quite expensive from what I've been told, but at least it's legalized and you have the support of your vet.
Hmm.
Say my vet, she gave him well, we were able to have his blood work done because as their cat is going through treatment, they need to have regular blood work to make sure that things are working correctly. And she did all of the supportive vet care that she could possibly do, you know, and keep her license to be a vet safe. So
Hmm. Hmm.
we're very blessed. We have great vets in our area in the South Coast.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I was just thinking as you were sharing your story, um, it, uh, I imagine that for some people that went through this treatment, I mean, you said it was, 84, 86 days. There's a lot, I imagine, that could go wrong when you're administering this medication. And if you don't have the support of a veterinarian to at least say, okay, if something kind of takes a left turn, we can help you and at least, get you right back on the right path because
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, we were both my husband and I have absolutely no medical experience, and he would gently hold Soy. He didn't like being restrained, but he would gently hold him, and we'd have a treat right in front of his little face, and I would give him the shot. It's just like a subcutaneous, just under the skin, and
Mhm.
the medication is very stinging. And we'd have a little treat in front of him, and he would eat, angry, angry, eat, and growl while he was getting the injection, and then it would be good. And it was once a day, and like that thinking, when you have something that you dread doing every day at 6 p.m.,
Mhm.
we'd step by 4 p.m., we'd start like, oh, you have to get
Yeah.
it's awful. It was
Yeah.
really, really, it was tough. It was
But
tough.
what a testament to your commitment to this cat, because I mean, obviously you just, okay, I'm going to go get a cat from, Connecticut, everything's going to be fine. I mean, surely you didn't expect that just in a few short months later, you were going to be faced with,
No,
spending thousands of dollars on medication and vet care to save this cat's life.
yeah,
So, what a testament, really.
yep. And the support that I got from my vet and also from Pam Robinson down at It's All About the Animals, when Soy was just beginning to get ill, and I said FIP, and she just kind of turned her head and she looked at me. She said, Laura, if the vet said it could be FIP, it is FIP, and start treating. But she had dealt with a couple of folks that she knew that had successfully treated their cat with FIP. And I trust Pam with anything cat related. And she pointed me in the right direction too. And that, Dawn and my husband and I just jumped right on it. It's like, no,
Mhm.
we're not going to just, we're not going to let him. It was so sad, Ian, when you see a poor little kitten is sick and it's like, what can you do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I imagine too, I mean, if it's an immune disorder, if it's a disease that attacks the immune system, I have to imagine that that likely escalates very quickly. So
Yeah.
treatment is, you need to do that like the day before yesterday, once you get that diagnosis.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. You don't wait on it because once you pass a certain point, there's no turning back.
Hmm. Mm,
But
mm,
he's
mm,
good
mm.
today. I mean, he doesn't maybe jump as high as the other cats. He does have a little bit of a rapid breath rate, And my vet says, yeah, I can't really explain that. She says, but he seems good. So we'll take, and here he's getting his little ears in the way. So, yeah, we'll take it now. I mean, we've had cats live to be 20 years old. Perhaps he will not, but we got him now and he's healthy now. And that's what matters.
Yeah. Now, how old are your other cats? Because I know you have three, but
Marley is about 8 or 9 years old. We rescued him from Habitat for Cats and
okay.
got him. He was already an adult, and the owner had gone into a nursing home and was unable to care for him. So we got him, but she was not exactly sure at that time if he was maybe 2 or 3 years old. So we're kind of fudging his age a little bit, maybe about.
Yeah.
And we have Ziggy. He is a Seal Point Siamese cat that I got at a breeder. He's not a rescue. I'm 100% honest here. I needed a Siamese cat at the time. It was tough. It was just beginning of COVID. I needed this kitten. And he is 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Soy is at by just a quick math is probably, maybe 3, 4 years old at this point.
Just turned 2.
Oh, okay.
Just turned 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that all of your cats are healthy. They've all kind of, and they're doing well and they're thriving and those sort of things. And I know you mentioned your work at It's All About the Animals. They're exclusively cats based on my understanding.
Yes, they are.
What do you wish, um, if you could give somebody one nugget of information before adopting a cat, what would you give them for insight on being a cat owner?
That is a very good question. Well, one thing I would say adamantly is if you're going to adopt a cat, it needs to be inside the house cat. I am completely opposed to letting cats outside at all. Unless they're on a harness or in a stroller, my cats don't go outside at all. There's too many dangers out there. When I was a child, I lived in New Bedford, and every year we lost a cat on County Street where I lived as a child. Now I'm in Fairhaven, and I see coyotes traipsing through my yard. There's no safe way for a cat to go outside unless they're accompanied by you. So I would say make sure that your commitment is to keep your cat indoors.
Now, I know you had some health challenges with your cat, and I think that's a testament to, for sure, your dedication. Sadly and unfortunately, oftentimes animals get returned to shelters because owners experience challenges.
Yeah.
They can't afford to take care of them health wise, or they mark in the house or they scratch, or there's a wide variety of issues and challenges that cat owners can face. Now with dogs though, you got to give them time to decompress. Is that true for cats as well?
I believe it is, and I believe that the thing with cats too is it's always going to be on the cat's timeline, not on your timeline. We had a cat when my husband's uncle passed away. We had a baby gate up, and she chose to stay in one bedroom for almost 2 years exclusively. And that was fine. We took care of her. And then one day, the cat, her name was Gail, she jumped over the gate and she assimilated into the group. So I think we just have to be patient with them. And with behavioral things like marking, there's generally a way to deal with that. So I would suggest that people not be so quick to give up on a cat and give them time. But I think that the 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months rule is true for cats as well as dogs. They're not as out there. You can't read them as well as you may be able to read a dog. Cats are you have to be a little bit more intuitive, I think.
Yeah, and especially if you are, and this is probably true of any animal that comes from like a hoarding situation. I mean, they've already lived in an awful, awful set of circumstances. And then your experience was this cat came from the South originally. They're being handled by different people. They're being transported. Usually those transports are, dare I say, a giant relay race. It's here you go. And then somebody else picks up the leg and, And then they're in a shelter for a bit of time getting, at least some preliminary assessments and vet care. I mean, talk about a whirlwind of confusion
Yes.
and angst. So they have no idea, and I would say this is true for most pets, when you rescue them, they have no idea if this is the last stop
Right.
or if they're going to be moved on in the next, 2, 3 weeks. So, your point about giving them time. I sort of intuitively thought that that was true for cats, but, I'm glad you did say that rule of, 3-3-3 could equally be applicable for cats.
And you can't rush them. You can't coax them as easily, maybe with a treat, as you can a dog. I think cats are just a little bit more independent, and they
Mhm.
they want to be the boss. You're not the boss. The cat's the boss. I accept
Yeah.
that. I accept.
Well, and the other challenge too is that, and I think it requires it does require a little bit more commitment because there's no such thing, dare I say, as a cat trainer. You can take
No.
a dog to a dog trainer for behavioral issues.
Yeah.
With cats, it's a bit of a different situation. So I imagine there's probably communities out there, whether it be on social media or within your cat rescue that you help at. Um, and hopefully there are a lot of them out there so people have a resource to say, hey, listen, I'm having this experience with my cat. How do I help them? How do I help them get over it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times if you do, before somebody brings an animal to be, dropped off at the back at the shelter because they can't handle it, if you do reach out to the place where you adopted, they will help you out. When Soy was becoming ill, and I talked to my vet a little bit and my shelter director, I reached back out to Secondhand Siamese to tell them because had been told that this could be something that other cats in that litter might also
Mm,
have. And they were very helpful too. They gave me all kinds of suggestions, and you know, um, I appreciate everything that they were able to do. Believe me, when we got that phone call that we were the ones selected to get Soy as, to own him, that was like they won me over that day. They didn't get to
mhm,
do another thing, but they did.
mhm,
They were very, very supportive. Even when he initially got the ringworm, they told me, well, what to buy to clean, and how to, keep the other cats hopefully safe, and how to, to isolate Soy. So the shelters will back you up. They don't want you to relinquish a cat back to them. They want
mhm,
to help you. And
mhm.
I've seen that firsthand in Rochester too. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. How do you, I mean, it's clear that you have an extreme love for cats. How do you volunteer and how do you not have 10 cats since you since you volunteer at a cat rescue?
Listen, well, that gives me my kitten fix because plenty of kittens down there. And as an older person, I'm really not a candidate for a kitten at this time. So we try to save the kittens. The director will adopt out the kittens to folks that are a little bit, younger than I am, which is
Mhm,
completely understandable. Well cared for cats can live into their 20s. So that's a good.
mhm,
But I volunteer one day a week, and it's some cleaning and caring for the kittens and grown-up cats also. And it's so rewarding. It's just enough to keep me from being that crazy cat lady with 12 cats. I could become that person.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing is, I was talking with someone else not that long ago, and they said who was also a volunteer at a different rescue, but they said, my gosh, we could all, because we have such empathy for animals and, that kind of thing, we could all become hoarders if we brought everything into our home that we fell in love with. And, we can't live like that. So, at a certain point, you got to draw the line and say,
Yeah.
okay, I'll go and volunteer and I'll help care for them. And that will scratch that itch, so to speak. And then I have my pets at home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it does. It satisfies that need to, help animals and be with different animals and meet them. And if anybody out there who thinks that all cats are the same and, boring, absolutely not. They have very unique, distinct personalities, and they show you that once you interact
mhm,
with them. I think maybe you have to work a little bit longer to gain the trust of a cat than a dog.
mhm, mhm. Is there anything specific to Siamese cats that somebody should maybe consider, versus another breed of cat, maybe like a tabby or some other kind of cat?
Well, my experience, we did have a Siamese cat when my children were young that lived to 21 years old. So I think that they're generally healthy cats and they're very intelligent cats. They kind of pick their person and make up their mind. Uh,
Hmm.
the Lady and the Tramp cartoon with the We Are Siamese Cats. If you watch that cartoon, it kind of is a good visual illustration of the behavior of Siamese cats. They can be a little bit naughty and challenging. I I can appreciate that in a cat, and they like to be alpha cats, which
Yeah.
the boss of all the cats. So
Hmm.
we do between um, Ziggy and Soy that there's always a little bit of a contest going on. Marley is a great black tabby cat, and he's very happy to sit back and let them be the bosses of the food and the cat trees and the
Hmm.
anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to be in charge, I think.
No, that's good to know because especially, for someone that might want a species of cat, if you will, that's a little bit more laid back, maybe a Siamese isn't the best fit for them. Maybe they go for something else.
Especially if you have a younger child. They can be a little bit, I wouldn't say aggressive, but they can be a little flighty. And obviously we're not declawing cats because that is an inhumane practice. So
Mhm.
a cat that has nails and a toddler, can sometimes be at odds with each other.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I also think, and I don't want to make it too much of a generalized statement because there's for sure exceptions, but sadly and unfortunately, it's been my experience that oftentimes children aren't always taught the best way to interact with animals in general. And so, it could for sure be a dangerous situation. You gotta someone that goes and pulls a cat's tail or
Yeah.
slaps puts their hand down a little too hard in an effort to not gently pet them but like you know
Yeah.
it could create a pretty nasty situation if we're not careful.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I mean, parents need to be responsible in redirecting their child and modeling how to, approach and handle their pets. Cats,
mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. If you could recommend, if you had a new neighbor that moved in next door to you and they said, Laura, listen, I'm new to the area. Who should I make sure is on my list for pet services? Who would you recommend?
I would definitely recommend Capeway Veterinary Animal Hospital because they're very up to date in their care. They have amazing vets over there that are really flexible. I've never called there with an emergency and not have been able to be seen or directed to an emergency hospital where they will prepare that hospital for my arrival. So I find them to be very supportive.
Hmm.
And I mean, as far as like cat food and whatnot, listen, Chewy is the place to go. I'm sorry. I'll put in an ad for Chewy here. It comes to your door, cat litter and all, and the prices are right. So
Yeah.
they're my go-to pets.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Chewy is for sure almost like the Amazon Prime
It
for
is.
animals. You can, there's
It's,
nothing more convenient than that.
yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share to anyone, considering adopting a cat in the future?
I would say that I would want to echo what my shelter director always says that I overhear her say all the time is spay and neuter your pets. Absolutely. If you don't get a kitten from a shelter, you're going to be responsible. If you get like, oh, my neighbor has free kittens. Well, those free kittens need vaccinations. They need to be spayed or neutered, and they need to be, properly cared for and kept in a home. So if you get one of those free kittens, be the responsible owner and take care of them. But listen, we have so many great shelters around here that have so many wonderful cats that you can meet in person. And that cat you get from a shelter is already spayed and neutered, up
Hmm.
to date on their vaccinations. They at It's all about the animals. Those pets are microchipped. You have it. It's all done. Some people say, "Oh, the adoption fee is high." Trust me, it is much less than if you went and paid your vet for all those vaccinations.
Hmm.
spay and neuter and a microchip. It's hundreds of dollars less. And
Mhm.
get to meet an animal and interact with them. And we have great shelters around here. So I would say try to shop at a shelter.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I've said this a number of times too, to your point, people often complain about the adoption fee, why is it so high? You're absolutely right. You can't spay an animal for $300 or $400 today. I mean, you can't. And forget about doing vaccinations or initial blood work or anything like that. I mean, it's an adoption fee is a, an incredible discount, if you will, when you think about all that comes along with what the shelter does up front to make sure that animal is ready to be
Exactly.
go to a home.
You're getting an animal that's been, their health has been checked. So they, stick with the shelters if at all possible, and spay and neuter if you don't, because we have way too many cats out there and kittens that are homeless, that are so deserving of homes. But, it's difficult to see the glut of cats, and that stems basically from all of these free kittens that just this time of year is kitten season, and
Yes.
we get people relinquish cats to the shelter. They find out that female cat is pregnant, and they relinquish to the shelter. And the director where I'm at, she will care for that cat. She will, allow the owner of the cat to leave their female cat there. She'll take the cat in until the kittens are weaned, and then the owner can get their female cat back, and it will be spayed. And they will, and unfortunately, they'll have to pay for it that time. But it's the smart thing to do, really. It's a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, Laura, thank you so much for your time this morning. It has been a pleasure talking with you about your experience, about your volunteer efforts, and your vet recommendations. I think this is going to be a valuable insight to our community. So I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. I love talking about soy, and I love talking about cats. So it all works.
Yeah, no, and like I said, this has been a valuable insight, and this is really what I had hoped to accomplish with putting together this podcast, to just give people a little bit of insight, a nugget at a time, and so that hopefully they make good decisions. They're at the very least, they're more informed today than they were yesterday. So
yeah, sounds good, Ann.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice chatting with you.
Likewise.
Take care. Bye bye.